Is being a lawyer overrated? I don't know. I just was scrolling through YouTube trying to find ideas of videos that I could react to or educate y'all on, and I stumbled across this video called "Is a Lawyer Being Overrated?" by Shane Hummus. So let's watch it, react to it, and find out if being a lawyer is in fact overrated. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching my content recently. Our channel has really been growing. It's been a lot of fun. And if you like this content, please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more. And as always, please leave comments down below on things that I should react to, topics you want to learn, anything you want. All right, let's get into it.
It was because you want to know if being a lawyer is a good career. And I'm just going to answer your question right away. For most people, the answer is going to be no. For more people, the answer is going to be hell no. And for a very select few people, the answer is maybe. Watch the rest of the video to find out. And if you appreciate me giving you the answer right away instead of making you watch the whole video.
Okay, so right off the bat, he tells us being a lawyer is overrated. I don't know. I really like being a lawyer.
So I've evaluated a lot of different careers and college degrees while doing research on this channel, and I have to say becoming a lawyer has to be one of the most overrated that I've seen. Now wait a second, I said overrated. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a viable career. In fact, I just did a video on careers that create the most millionaires, and lawyer was part of the top 10. They came in as the #4 most common career for people that are in the 99th percentile of earning as well as the 90th percentile. So by overrated, what I mean is the idea of what the career is like is very far from the...
I can see that to an extent. I mean, people always ask me if my job is anything like the TV show Suits, and it's not. But, okay, so I see where he's going by the word overrated, but I don't know. Still...
reality. Lawyers, just like doctors, is a career that's been put on a pedestal and it's been glorified for decades with countless different shows. In fact, many people grow up with their parents telling them that the only acceptable careers they can go for is being a medical doctor or a lawyer. And for a long time, being a lawyer was a fantastic career, so the hype was justified. Not anymore though, and in this video I'm going to explain exactly why that is. So part one, first of all, I've talked about this on this channel before. Graduate schools are extremely expensive, and on top of that, the loans that you have to take out to get into a graduate level program, they're known as Grad Plus loans, are much worse than the undergraduate variety. Now, the degree that you would be going for in order to become a lawyer...
This is true. Law school is expensive, and it's definitely something you need to consider when making your plan about what you want to do in the future and how much money you need to be making to stay afloat.
Is known as a JD or a Juris Doctor. Generally speaking, this is going to take about 3 years in a full-time program in order to get this degree, and most people that get accepted into a JD program are going to have a bachelor's, so 7 years overall. Now, as I said before, graduate schools are very expensive. I explained this in other videos, but essentially what's happened in the last couple decades is the government has given grad schools the go-ahead to write a blank check and put just about any amount that they want on that check in order to charge for higher level degrees. The average debt for a law school student coming out is going to be $145,000. And again, these aren't going to be any type of loans.
That seems about right, and at least in my personal experience, I have a lot of colleagues who are on a huge spectrum of that. I've known some people graduate law school with no debt. I've known people who graduate law school with $250,000, $300,000 plus worth of debt. So that's probably around right, 145.
Grad Plus loans, the types that you would take out for grad school, are much worse. And I'm just going to go ahead and have Margot Robbie explain.
So whenever you hear Grad Plus, think shit.
Thank you, Margot. Now, the DTI ratio, or the debt to income ratio, is something else that you want to think about. Now, I recently did a video about the debt to income ratio of different types of graduate level degrees, and law school had a pretty bad one. It wasn't one of the worst, but it also wasn't one of the best. The debt to income ratio in that video was 2.8 to 1. It's likely a lot lower than that just because I used numbers that were from a website that is dedicated to helping people who are in deep student loan debt. But overall, it's still pretty bad. Now, as a lawyer, you can expect to make about $122,000 a year. There's going to be 823,000 jobs out there, and it's growing at 6%, which is as fast as average. I will note here that there is a huge discrepancy in pay when it comes to lawyers. So if you go in...
Absolutely. Huge discrepancy in pay when it comes to lawyers, especially those lawyers who have to go work for the man. So listen, right out of law school, I already know what this guy's going to go say. About the top 10, 20% of law school people go to work for what's called big law, if they want. Big law firms are the big fancy corporate soul eater law firms, and your salary is about $190,000, $200,000 a year right off the bat, and then plus bonuses. So it escalates pretty quickly. Within 2 or 3 years, you can be making $230,000, $240,000, $250,000. But if you don't get into big law, your first year salary is probably around $60,000, $70,000, $75,000. Or you can be very, very smart and start your own law firm like me, almost immediately out of law school, and lose money because it takes a long time to be profitable.
Into nursing, for instance, there might be a little discrepancy in pay. You know, some nurses make $60,000, others make $100,000, you know, depending on the specialty you go into, depending on where you live, and all kinds of other things like that. When it comes to lawyers, it could be the difference between making $30,000 to $40,000 a year and making like $20 million a year. There is a huge discrepancy, and the people at the very top make the average look a lot higher than it actually is. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to talk about is the fact that law schools are just churning out lawyers. Now, to be honest with you, this is killing a lot of different professions out there. It's something that needs to be addressed. It's a huge problem. And if it doesn't get addressed, many other professions are also going to be laid to rest. Now, I talk a lot on this channel about how you really need to think about your goals in the future and have a solid plan if you're thinking about getting a college degree. And that is especially true if you're thinking about becoming a lawyer. You have to be smart, careful, and calculated. And really, I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. You're going to want to go to a top law school. You're going to want to be one of the top people in your class. Then if you're lucky, you might start off at the very bottom in a good company, work really, really hard for years in order to become a partner.
I disagree completely with his analysis of this. Yes, I think law schools are churning out lawyers, but that doesn't mean anything to the individual person, right? All you have to do is be good at your job. I know a ton of really bad lawyers. I wouldn't even trust them with my parking ticket. So, but that has nothing to do with you. You just be better than them. You work your way to the top. What he's referring to is the people who want to follow the rat race of being in big law. Yeah, sure, if you want to go to big law and make $190,000 a year, yeah, statistically, you need to go to a better law school and be in the top 20% of your class. That's going to give you the best chance to go be some corporate suit at some big law firm billing hours. The 5 to 10 most successful lawyers that I know went to no-name law schools. They started their own firm, which is kind of what I did and the inspiration behind what I'm doing. And it's working out just fine. The beauty about the law is that the law encompasses everything. There's so much at stake with the law, which means you can truly provide value to your clients, whatever type of law you go into. So all you need to do is be good at your job. So who cares if there's a lot of competition? I really, really don't like people who say that kind of stuff.
And then you're going to get set. Oh yeah, and there's one more thing that I haven't mentioned. Old lawyers aren't retiring because, to be honest with you, they have really easy jobs that pay really well. And you, as the new grad, are going to end up doing all of the grunt work for them. And speaking of doing all of that...
Isn't that like anything else, right? So if you're unhappy with the partners at the law firm having the easy job and just billing you to death, which they totally do, why don't you do it for yourself? I mean, any other job, you could not be a lawyer and you go to corporate America and the big CEO. Like, I don't know. I don't like this.
Grunt work, let's talk about part 3, which is job satisfaction. You get to wear a suit, you get a big paycheck, you can beat anyone in an argument. And that's whether you actually believe in what you're saying or not. What's not to like, right? What if I was to tell you that being a lawyer has the worst job satisfaction out of any common career in the United States? That's right, Career Bliss, which is a website basically dedicated to giving the job satisfaction for all kinds of different jobs out there. One of the better websites that I've researched when I'm looking at this sort of thing. A few years ago, they ranked associate attorneys as having the worst job satisfaction out of any job in the US. They've consistently ranked it as one of the worst since then, and a bunch of other websites basically show the same thing. So for instance, the happiest profession on this list was real estate agents, and they came out being about 4.26 out of 5 overall. To contrast that, lawyers were 2.89 out of 5. Yikes.
See, for me, I'm a plaintiff's lawyer, which means I usually represent the little guy, the citizens, against big corporations, whether it's personal injury or mass tort or pharmaceutical or whatever. And so that's really satisfying. In fact, today I got to drive to somebody's house and give them a $380,000 check. Accounting just gave me a big check to give to a client. That check is what the client is putting in their pocket. And I'm gonna go hand deliver that check because this is the best part of the job. That was probably the most satisfying thing I've done all week. And it's a great part of the job representing the little guy. So I think so much of it is what you do. Jobs. I know people who work for the ACLU. They love what they do. I know people who do real estate law. They love what they do. So not everything needs to be just this soul eater mentality. But I think a lot of people isolate needing to make a lot of money and doing something, you know, that you can really get behind as two mutually exclusive things when they're not. You can absolutely do something that you care about and make a lot of money.
Now, why is this? There's a million different reasons for that. I'm sure, you know, people who are lawyers that are watching this video, you can tell me down in the comments. If you really want to know, just go check out a subreddit that has a bunch of lawyers on it, and they'll be more than happy to tell you why. But you've got 60+ hour work weeks, of course.
That's true.
Doing grunt work for most of that time, especially when you're new. You're gonna have to take whatever you can get, whether you believe in it or not, whether you want to do it or not. You basically just have to take.
Nope, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. When I started my law firm, I didn't have any business at all. And my mentors told me you make money by saying no. I said no to so many opportunities that I could have made a quick buck on because that's not what I wanted to do. I set out to do catastrophic personal injury. Your basic car wreck where your back's hurt, I don't do that. I do catastrophic personal injury. I got so many calls about, hey, I need a divorce, or hey, I need a real estate deal done, or whatever. I said no because that would take time away from the clients that I wanted. That is such BS. It's just like any other business. You can develop a business model and you don't have to accept everything that comes in your door. This guy's sounding like one of my law school professors that I really disagree with.
Whatever they give you. There's a lot of idiots out there in the world, and if you're a defense attorney, you're going to have to defend them whether you want to or not. Oh, and you're going to be arguing and competing against some of the smartest and most energetic people in the world.
All the time.
Your work pretty much never
What's wrong
ends.
with that?
Not only do you take your work home with you, but you also take it on vacation.
Are you still on vacation?
Yes!
A couple years ago, I was hanging out with one of my friends and her cousin, and we were at this rooftop bar in Las Vegas, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she gets a call, she has to check her email, she pulls her laptop out of her purse, her giant purse, and she starts working on her case in the middle of the bar. She's on vacation, she's all the way across the country.
So this part kind of is true. We do have to work a lot, and it's hard to take breaks, right? Because everybody's got different breaks. And if you're at a big law firm, then, you know, you have people who could pick up the slack. But for instance, for me, I just hired my first ever associate. So there's only 2 of us, and I have a staff of 3 more people. You know, then there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, but that's okay. You know, I don't mind the work because hopefully in 10 years I have it like that easy partner, right?
In a different city, and she's still having to do work in the middle of a bar. It couldn't even wait like an hour for her to go to her hotel room. There is no work-life balance when you become a lawyer, especially when you're at the very beginning of your career.
Oh, I'm such a
The saturation and the competitiveness of it makes everything else worse as well because you're replaceable. Part 4, getting a job in the first place.
Everybody's
Now, I did a ton of research
replaceable
for this
in
video
any
on the placement rates
industry.
of different schools, and to be honest with you, it's completely different depending on the school that you go to. But as an average, only about 50 to 60% of the people who graduate are going to be able to get a job as a lawyer. Many lawyers end up working for free at first because they can't find themselves a job even though they send out hundreds of applications. Many compete for internships that are meant for people that don't even have a degree. Many work lower level jobs that don't even require a law degree. A ton of people realize that they don't want to be a lawyer because it's so much different than what they pictured in their head, and they never get a job and they just completely leave the profession. Many also start working as a lawyer, realize it's not the career that they want, and they end up leaving the profession that way as well. So sometimes when you're looking up numbers on the internet that show surveys and polls that show how much lawyers make, that's going to be response data which has inherent bias. Usually people who are lawyers are going to be the ones who respond to that data, and so those are the ones who actually made it and actually got a job. The reality of the situation is many people who graduate with this degree aren't going to get a job, and so therefore they wouldn't respond to lawyer surveys. Part 4, we're going to talk about why it doesn't pay nearly as well as it seems. Now, I talked before about how the average that's shown on BLS, about $120,000 a year, a lot of that is going to be propped up because the people at the very top are making way more than the people at the bottom.
There are a lot of lawyers who make a lot of money.
People end up just not even getting a job as a lawyer, and so therefore they can't report the fact that they didn't get a job as a lawyer's salary. Now, on top of that, most of the good jobs for the people that are lucky enough to get a good job right out of school are going to be in big cities which have a high cost of living, and so therefore, yes, the salary is going to be higher, but your cost of living is also going to be higher as well. Now, there's a lot of different things that contribute to this as well. A lot of the time when you first start out, you're going to have to be doing very low level, just data entry roles where you're not really learning a lot of the stuff that you need to learn in order to be an actual lawyer, you know, someone who argues for someone else in court. That's what everyone imagines it being.
So, yeah, he's right. You know, if you go at a big law firm and you got the big fancy job, the first couple years you basically just do all the grunt work, like he said. But that's like, I'm pretty sure it's like that anywhere. And if you're unhappy with that and you want to do real lawyer stuff, even though all that stuff is real lawyer stuff, start your own law firm. That's what I did. I was in trial within a few months of starting my own law firm. I've tried many cases compared to what my peers have in the same, you know, practice timeline. Nothing's stopping you. I don't know. I just think this guy's really pessimistic. Let's just keep going.
But the best way to put this one is this is just one of those careers where it's very high risk and high reward. The truth is a lot of people are never going to end up in those really high paying jobs. If you are able to make it to being a partner or owning your own practice, you're going to be set, you're going to be good to go. You can definitely build that up and become a millionaire if you want to. But overall, the average person that attends law school, if they're lucky enough,
you don't need to be rich to start your own practice. All it takes is 1 or 2 or 3 good clients and boom, you have a successful practice. Now, what you want to do with that money, whether you want to take it out and that's what you want to live on every year and just be happy with a solo practitioner is one thing. But, you know, my career path is I've put everything that I've made back into my business. I'm growing it. I just opened up my second office, hired an associate, all that kind of stuff. So I want to grow because I want to build a world-class law firm where I have people making money for me. But yeah, it's hard work. But what isn't hard work? Again, this guy's kind of pessimistic.
To even get a job in the first place is probably not going to make it to that level where they get a really good one. So after all this evidence that I've presented, I know some of you still won't be convinced. So part 5, there's this hilarious song that people made. A lot of the time people will become lawyers and they end up going into a completely different career. And I believe the people who made this song actually ended up becoming writers for different shows, for instance. So I'll just play a little bit of this song so you can get an idea of it. Any other profession where they literally dedicated an entire song that probably cost them like hundreds of thousands of dollars just to make that music video. They dedicated an entire music video, an entire song to a profession and saying that you shouldn't go into it. You know, you're always going to have people who are just negative in general and they're going to tell you to not go into whatever career that you're trying to go into. Real estate, for instance, it's ranked as the happiest career out there. But guess what? I'm sure there's tons of real estate agents that say, absolutely don't go into this. Don't go into this at all. It's a horrible idea. Okay, so you're always going to have negative people that tell you that you can't do something, and that's going to be in any career no matter how good it is. But overwhelmingly, people said to not go into this career when I was doing research on it. Go ahead, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button.
All right, guys, I don't really know what else to say other than I really actually didn't like that video. I didn't think it was accurate. I don't think it was a correct view at looking at things. Quite frankly, he put the job of being a lawyer down because it was hard work. Yeah, of course you're going to get the grunt work at the beginning, just like any other industry. And you can build your way up top. The beauty about the law is it encompasses everything. Every single industry is going to need lawyers, and that's never going to change. If the laws change, well, guess what? Then you need lawyers even more so because the laws change. And also the whole deal about how you can't pick what clients you fight for, that's totally BS. I say no to probably 90% of the cases that come through my door. But just like anything else, I know people who were unhappy at big law jobs and started their own solo practice and are now happy. I know people who did the opposite. They didn't like being solo, so then they went to go big law firms because they like that security. Yeah, of course there are people who are unhappy with it, but I think there are people who are unhappy with every type of industry. And yes, I'm not going to lie, it's stressful. When clients come to us, they are in the most stressful time of their life. They're in need. There's a reason why you have to get a lawyer. And that's not something to take lightly, and it does take a toll on you. Of course it does. But that's also what provides value. If this wasn't a valuable service, then there wouldn't be the kind of money that there is. We are providing value. It's directly proportionate to the value we're providing is how much you get paid. If you're interested in being a lawyer, please don't let people like this stop you. I think it's a great profession. I think it's a noble profession. I think you can really do what you want being a lawyer. You can pick and choose your career path. You can really help people out.